Welcome to Mortgage Therapy with Chris Sorensen. Hey, this is a time when I get a chance to interview folks that I respect and admire and candidly ask them about what therapy they need and perhaps maybe even invite them to send me a bill for being my therapist as I complain about certain things and take joy in others. Kasia Stephenson is somebody who you can't help but admire. She has a stellar background, which we're going to learn about, and she's newer in quotations with PRMG, but already she's making phenomenal headway with her and her team's actions. So, Kasha, thank you so much for being here. Episode 1, right? So it all starts with you, which is perfectly stated, right?
That's the best place to start. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate being on your first one, and I feel like everybody needs therapy. So this is a really, really good topic, and I think a good direction for us all because everyone needs to talk to somebody. They can't just bottle it all in.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and look, I always quip that we spend more waking hours with each other here at the office than we do with our loved ones at home, right? You know, our why is often our
100%.
family. But right, if we're going to provide and we're going to take care of our family in the way that we are called to do, we've got to be here. And so we need to make the best of it. But I got to tell you, in my 36-year career, there's been plenty of times when I've encountered people who are the south end of a northbound donkey. And sometimes I just wanted to share those stories. I'm hoping that, not that I'm going to encourage you to do that, but if you have one where maybe we could all learn from, what should I say, what not to do
What
as a
not to
mortgage
do?
professional. I'm sure you've got plenty of those stories, right?
Lots of those. Probably skeletons in the closet. Some folks probably don't want me to share.
So tell me, I'm going to go personal with you just to begin with to kind of set the stage. So, Kasha, who is Kasha? You know, married, kids. You know, tell us about who Kasha Stevenson is.
Yeah. So I am a first generation Polish American. My parents immigrated over from Poland and they met in New York.
Wow,
And that's where I was born. I did not know how to speak English until I was about 8 years old.
no
So
kidding.
I was full on Polish. We lived in a Polish neighborhood. I really enjoyed that time and I remember it very well. I know some kids, like, it's hard to remember that, certain aspects of your childhood, but like I have vivid, vivid memories of it. And just how hard my parents worked. So they taught me a lot of my morals today, like just being a hard worker. So in college, I was watching Who's the Boss? I don't know if you remember that.
I
And I got
sure.
really inspired by Angela and I wanted to be in advertising. That's kind of like, actually, it was not college, it was high school. So I'm dating myself. But anyway, so I strive to be like Angela from Who's the Boss? And that's how I got into marketing. And I have a 17-year-old son right now who has no idea what he wants to do with his life. I'm like, you probably should watch some sitcoms from the 80s and give you some inspiration because he's all over the place. One day it's a blue collar worker. The next day he's going to be a welder or a businessman. So anyhow, I have 3 kids. I have 3 boys. And so needless to say, I am constantly busy. I am a referee. I am a soccer mom. I also am an avid gardener. I love to garden. I have somewhat of a green thumb. Right now in Texas, it's nice and spring-ish on
Mhm.
certain days. So I'm growing tomatoes and cucumbers and I love all the herbs. So I'm a very big family person. I like to pull my family together. I also like to pull my friends together and also do the same thing with my team. So I like to do a lot of team building activities. And when I see that there's an opportunity to get to know somebody better, I try to do that in all kinds of settings.
Gosh,
But
I'm going to interrupt you. I want to go back to something because you just said something I think is, I'm going to be a little bit of a therapist here. So you love your family and you love to treat your team as a family. Does that stem from, obviously I would imagine it stems from your upbringing and watching what a tight knit family and extended family in that Polish community there in New York that you enjoyed? Because you said that was a very, you look back on those times very favorably. What were
yes.
some of why do you suppose that is? I mean, tell us, as your audience, tell us why that was such a positive impact on your life as
Well,
a youngster.
it's every celebration. So birthday, baptism, name day, whatever, it was always a celebration. And being Polish, there was always a bottle of vodka. So it was, there was always vodka. However, it was lots of people and lots of food. And it was always happy times. And I love that because it brought together not only just family, but also friends and neighbors and everybody in the community. So that's I think it's really important, no matter who you are, whether it's, a cousin or a friend, like everyone is part of the family.
So you want that for others. You enjoyed that and it had such a
Yes,
positive impact on you that I suppose that makes sense for all of us, but because of your experience, you want to share that experience with others. And as a leader, you do just that. You kind of court that, sounds like.
I try to do that the best as I can when I'm not busy with all the projects I have on my plate. But yes,
Sure. So,
prioritize the important things.
and so now you mentioned college. Did you go after high school when you watched Who's the Boss and thought, hey, I want to be the next Angela? Did you end
Yeah,
up going to college?
I did. I went to University of Arlington and got a bachelor's in just marketing degree. And I did not start in a marketing seat. I I was working for Pier 1 customer service, trying to get to their corporate office. That was like the way in. You got to start at the store and then get into the corporate office. I got into Pier 1 and was not getting paid a good hourly wage, but I was getting good experience. It was when they had like all the buyers for the stores. So I got to see the back end. It was really, really exciting, but I was not doing anything marketing really related, more of an assistant. I got a call from Ford Motor Credit to be a buyer. And it was my first like career. So offered me a salary and something completely, I mean, it was nothing marketing driven. It was they were offering me an opportunity to learn the auto industry. And so I took it because it was like $31,000. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Yes. And now 31,000, nobody will go work for that. I'm right out of college. But it was a lot of money back then.
Sure.
So not marketing related. However, I learned a lot of who I am today because of the people I worked with. So sales is hard, right? Any
Yeah.
industry, sales is hard. Auto
A
industry
lot of
sales,
rejection in sales. You have to have thick skin.
yes. And that is what I developed at at Ford is the thick skin. So I would sit in dealerships over the weekend reviewing paper. So basically credit applications for folks to buy a car.
Okay.
And of course, every dealer wanted to put every single person into a car over the weekend and just let it roll, right? Not everybody qualifies for a car, especially a nice big Ford Expedition or a Ford F-150 that's like $60,000, especially if you just had a bankruptcy. So I I had to deal with it was a little brutal because I was there on site, literally face to face arguing with the dealer of why I cannot purchase this because this person is not going to pay their payments. So I spent about a good 2 years there. However, side note, that's where I did meet my husband. So
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Don't skip over that. How did you meet your husband at Ford Motor Credit?
he was my mentor.
Really?
Yes, he was my mentor. And I have to tell you, Chris, when I first met him, I thought he was the most annoying person on the planet. As soon as he walked in the room, I'm like, who is this guy?
You
He's,
rolled your eyes at him? You
yes, I
just rolled your
did.
eyes right now naturally.
I rolled
Why?
my eyes and I'm like, this is going
Hold
to be
on, hold on.
fun.
What did he do that caused you to ask yourself, who is this guy?
It was just his voice. He was young too. So he was just out of college. And I'm like, this little guy is supposed to teach me how to do my job, is what I was thinking. Part of my Polish background is being very, um, confident of myself. So I'm like, this guy's supposed to teach me. He was dating and I was also not single at the time. So we were not even thinking this is going to go anywhere. Anyways, he turned out to be like my therapist. And I was his therapist. I started introducing him to my sorority sisters, trying to get him to, go on dates. And then eventually we figured out that, you know, it's actually us that need to be together. So
How
that
very
is
cool.
the path I took. And then as soon as I was done with Ford, I was like, okay, it's time for marketing. Like I really need to get into the marketing realm. And that's when First Horizon. So First Horizon was a bank that MetLife Home Loans purchased. Remember Snoopy, the Snoopy era.
Of course.
So that's where my mortgage marketing career started, was at First
MetLife
Horizon.
also owned Horizon Mortgage.
Yep. Yep. It was a
First
small
Horizon. I
national
got
bank out
First
of
Horizon.
Tennessee. First Horizon out of Tennessee.
Yep.
Yep. I worked there for over 5 years. I had the best team. I supported about 450 loan officers with their marketing. It's back then we could actually do stuff for realtors. Remember the days when you could do like little tchotchkes and send them stuff and it wasn't anything of value? So I came up with cool campaigns around just whether it's a measuring tape or a mug. And it was, the cute, witty little like, hey, this is why you need to work with me. And, send them it was a monthly campaign. So much fun. But then of course, compliance came in a couple of years later and said, you can't give them a $5 gift. That's something of value. Remember that? Like you
I
can't
do
give them
remember that, and
anything.
I also, I will say, just as a quick little sidebar, it's funny. I was told here in California, I was told that some of the laws that were passed in California, and then some of the stuff went nationwide, had to do with the title companies and some of the banks themselves behind the scenes wanting the rules to change, so the real estate agents would stop and the loan officers would stop asking them
Yeah.
for resources and financial resources. So yeah, I think you know that's been a good thing overall, but the pendulum maybe swung too far there for a while
Too
as
far.
well.
Too far. We're like,
Yeah,
I can't give them a mug. Are you
right.
kidding me? Okay.
But those, it sounds like those are some great experiences, is which kind of led you. So all those life experiences, as with all of us, shaped who you are today. And let's talk about today, because I know obviously I could talk to you all day long, but since we have somewhat limited time, I want to talk about, for the people that work for PRMG and maybe somebody who would even consider working for PRMG. Sounds like you've got a lot of empathy, right? You've been in sales. You understand obviously going out there and having to market for sales and the benefit of that. I love what you said about as far as trying to create a culture of family, because that's defines who PRMG is, right? We always say Team PRMG, the PRMG family, and that's done with purposeful intent to kind of drive that cultural fit. So, what was it about PRMG when you first heard of the opportunity that caused you to say, "Yeah, you know what, that company can work for me"?
To be honest, it was the flexibility and willingness to evolve, because there's a lot of changes right now in the market, not only in the marketing world, but just in mortgage. And a company that wants to grow and know it's not going to be easy is what I was looking for. Because right now with AI, everything's blowing up. I was with a company that was not very AI driven. They were, everyone's kind of afraid, right? So the flexibility and willingness to evolve is something that really drew me to PRMG.
Well, and you and your team, that's, you brought up the A, so let's talk about that for a second, because that's Kevin Perinio. People know him affectionately as KP. He's our chief lending officer. He kind of runs all three channels: correspondent, wholesale, and retail. For those that don't know, I'm the director of retail. But one of the things he told me is that he said, Chris, don't please don't ask Kasha and her team to do anything without talking to me first, because I want her focused like a laser beam on the AI initiative, where we're going to have AI calling our servicing portfolio and then beyond. Tell us about that, because that's been a huge lift between that and our customer intelligence. That seems to have been, and you're getting there, right? We're
Yeah.
now beta testing and we're rolling all this stuff out. But maybe talk for the audience about the undertakings that you've had here for the last 4 or 5 months.
It's almost been 6 months, which is crazy how time flies.
Yes.
But the first thing that I did when I came in was, take a peek behind the curtains, right? Like you got to come in and see how things are operating. I'm very operations driven. So I want to know what the processes are. And not that I want to come in and change things, but like, are there opportunities to make some adjustments along the way? Because of how quickly we want to get things done. So that was one of the first things, was kind of seeing like, how are things working? What are the workflows? do we have some opportunities to make some, adjustments to tweak here and there? Nothing major. I'm not a person to come and just pull out the rug from anybody, but things to make us successful, right? Because a lot of pressure is now on my shoulders to get a lot of things done and very quickly. So the first 30, 60, 90 days was kind of doing that assessment, but then really what came in really hard and fast was switching over from one vendor to another for the customer intelligence, the alerts, a lot of data, a lot of journey writing, a lot of investigative work of, again, are we setting this up correctly? What are anticipation of what's next? And what's next was the AI sales voice assistant calling for loan officers. So Total Expert has this great tool that basically the sales assistant will call on your opportunities. Right now, what we're doing is our closed book to business is about 3,500 loans, I believe. We've got in like a Shark Tank where we are going to migrate it for any credit leads, any rate leads, or any mortgage inquiries. So basically, it's going to mine the data, and if somebody's credit gets pulled, it's in the Shark Tank, then that sales assistant's going to call and try to get a warm transfer over to our AFS group.
So let's talk about this for a second. And by the way, the 3,500 is, not obviously our servicing portfolio is much
It's just
larger.
a small subset to start
Well, that's
with.
just it. For the people that are watching this, just so you understand, we took what we called orphaned loans where maybe the loan officer is no longer with us. And so we wanted to make sure because it's super, super important at PRMG, whether you're sending us loans on a retail basis or wholesale basis, we want to make sure that we always find the person of origin and make sure that they receive the benefit when that we get an alert. If somebody wants to refinance and you're sending this business as a wholesale lender, we go back to you to make sure that you get that opportunity. The same thing with our retail team. And so I'm very excited about this. I'm just going to say it out here because I figure if I speak it to the universe, maybe it'll happen. One of the things that I know that you and our general counsel are going to be working on with KP is making sure we have the proper disclosures so that if I do recruit somebody and say, hey, come on in with your sphere of influence, that we have a way to opt in so that that AI VA will be able to call on those leads as well. Because the fact that they can find somebody, and I know I'm dominating here for a second, but when we've watched this thing, it is so conversational. It is so empathetic. One of the examples was somebody mentioned about a passing of a loved one in their family, and the cadence instantly changed, and it was empathetic and offered its condolences. Where we are with AI today and where we're going to be in the coming months is just astounding. And so, yes, if you're listening to me, please know that our AI VA is able to call, create appointments for you, schedule them, hand them over to you in a warm lead transfer if you're available. And if not, schedule using your Calendly link. It's going to be a game changer, completely changing the way that we do business moving forward. And we're in its infancy stages. And thanks to Kasha and her team, we're accelerating at a rapid rate. Was that a fair assessment?
Oh, absolutely. It's saving the loan officer so many countless hours of trying to contact a certain individual, right? Now this AI is calling on several individuals, and as soon as they get somebody, that's when a warm transfer or a Calendly link happens. So saving you so much time, like that is something you never get back, is time. I feel like that is such a huge win, and it's been so much fun to actually train this AI. So our assistant's name is Leah, and we've been talking to Leah quite a bit. She calls me all the time now. We're good friends. But it's been fun to train because you've got to train the personality, right? You got to make sure that she's asking all the right questions or she's being appropriate when the time is right. And so like really kind of nurturing Leah has been quite fun in the process.
So I also want to mention too, or have you talk about the loan status notifications. I know we've had those, but you've been improving those along with the customer intelligence alerts, right? Talk about that because that's so important when somebody, I'll use an example because it came up with you and I maybe in the last week, a listing alert. As simple as that is, having a listing alert that actually has a journey tied to it that brings the client back to the originating loan officer is huge. And loan officers, please hear me. If you're not taking advantage of these alerts and calling immediately, within minutes, the opportunity starts to drop precipitously. You've got to call on these alerts and with great enthusiasm, let the person know that you're here to serve. I mean, a listing alert, there's a seller who's moving someplace. And since we're a nationwide lender, that's an opportunity. And if you can convince them to do business with you and then refer them to an agent in that new marketplace, that's an opportunity to create or curry favor with an agent in a marketplace that you're not currently doing business. But did you want to talk about the CI and what you're doing there with the alerts?
Yes, but I'll step back. I'll take one step back. Is a CRM is just is your pile of cash, and I wish loan officers would recognize that, because that is where all of your money sits, and it's referral business, it's your prospect business, and until you recognize that, you're losing, right? You really need to nurture your CRM, and it's only as good as you make it. If you don't put in notes, you don't put in any data in there, like how are you to know if somebody's having a baby or a graduation? Do the reach out. Like we had somebody make special little onesies for that had a cute little witty mortgage saying, and as soon as somebody was expecting, she would send out, I mean, something very thoughtful. And then this baby is wearing your onesie, and then somebody's talking about buying a home, like, well, let's call, is it Michelle or whoever it is, right? Like those little things, like you put those notes in your CRM. But back to the alerts, yes, like if the journey basically is set up to, as soon as somebody puts their house on the market, right, we get that intelligence into the system. The loan officer gets notified that John Smith has put his house on the market. Why don't you give him a call and see how life is going, just in case they forgot about you, right? Or John Smith is basically out there looking because he had his credit pulled. Well, he's currently your customer. Why isn't John called you? So why don't you call John and find out what's going on with John? So these are all things that are coming into the system. It'll be a email to the loan officers giving them a heads up, but then also we do send an email to the customer. But the loan officer needs to take action. This is like your opportunity to take action. However, if you have the AI sales assistant, she could be making the call for you. And then John is ready to talk to you. You're available on the line, and you can have that warm transfer and talk to John right away. So that is like the cool way this system works.
Kasha, that is, and again, I don't know if people just heard what you said, but that's the greatest challenge of our business, is that we can use today's technology for all these alerts, credit pulls, especially if they're your customer. The new law doesn't apply. You still obviously can reach out. You're still going to get an alert as long as they haven't refied with somebody else. The listing alerts, all the different alerts that occur. FICO score drops, debt, the debt reaches 15,000 in revolving debt. That's an alert. I mean, there's all these alerts that give you opportunities. But the hardest challenge sales directors like myself have is getting people to take action, as you just mentioned. It's a pile of cash and people just ignore it. To be able to have a AI VA, artificial intelligence virtual assistant, reach out the minute that alert hits on your behalf, admitting that this is, hey, I'm Kasha's assistant, just reaching out to see if I couldn't schedule an appointment. In fact, if you're available, I could see if I could transfer the call to you right now. You know what? She's not available right now. Let me go ahead and schedule. I can see that Tuesday is good at 2:00, or is Wednesday at 9 better? But when an artificial intelligence bot who has the right cadence, the right tonality, does not responds with very little, if any, hesitation, just like a real conversation, when they can schedule those appointments on your behalf, it's game over. Any company that does not follow the suit and follow the path that we're following, they're Circuit City, meaning they're out of business. They just don't know it yet.
The cool thing is she doesn't ever get tired. She'll keep calling. She will keep calling. There's no sales relationship.
Never takes any days off. Yeah, it's such a true statement.
Yeah. Leah is never asleep.
So on a fun note, I always, like I said, when Jessica, your associate that you brought over with you, when she mentioned, hey, let's call this podcast Mortgage Therapy with Chris Sorensen, I fell in love. I love that. And so in that vein, I have to ask you, what therapy do you need? Tell me what drives you absolutely bonkers that loan officers do or don't do, that we won't mention people's names unless you want to. Won't mention people's names. They can be anonymous. But what's something that's happened in the last day, week, month, or even year where you just went, oh my gosh, maybe I need to choose a new career path where I'm going to, because you always come across as so sweet and genteel to me.
Oh boy.
That's a
I'm
great thing.
cool.
That's a great thing. You're a very nice human being. I've not seen any dark side yet. Maybe you have one, but I've not seen any dark side. But does anything ever bother you with respect to what loan officers do or don't do? And what is it?
The thing that I guess bothers me in mortgage marketing is that I have a very strong, talented team, like social media expert, communication expert. Like we know like all the great strategies out there. We really want to put those into play, but we get so bogged down with just the tasks of, you decided that one day you want a flyer for some idea that you just came up with. So we try to fulfill everybody's request, but we get bogged down with just too many of them to really accelerate forward with all the great talent we have on the team. So I'm trying to get things into place basically so we can really get the wheels turning on my team, because there's so much potential here. And I feel like the flyers, we got to burn the flyer factory down.
Well, have you ever noticed, I'm sure you have, and if you're guilty about what I'm about to say out loud, don't take it to heart. Maybe just kind of look in the mirror and say, well, maybe Chris and Kasha have a point. But it seems like when you and I observe this, the people who ask for the most flyers or customized flyers are always the ones who do the least amount of business.
Yeah.
That your top producers aren't worried about the flyer. They're worried about making the phone call and making sure that they are serving people's needs and asking for the opportunity over the telephone or face to face, as opposed to dropping a flyer someplace and just hoping that somebody's going to feel compelled to reach out. That's just not the way the world works anymore. I mean, are we in agreement there?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But again, like you said, I am a nice individual. My team, we are here to serve. We are here to help everyone be successful, regardless of how much production you have. So that is probably where we fall. We're going to help everybody get those loans in the door. So yes, I think, recognizing that there's some opportunity on the team to really propel forward is, come to us for strategy. We really want to talk strategy.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that. That is a very powerful statement. I know that we're coming up on our 30-minute mark, but what a powerful, powerful thing you just said. As opposed to asking us to create a flyer or change a verbiage on some flyer that already exists, which is even worse. Come to me. If I'm Kasha, you're saying, come to me for strategy sessions so that we can talk about a holistic campaign that's going to help you succeed. And you have the things that you need in place, ready to go off the shelf, by and large. Listen, as you wind down, I just want to say you said something about serve. And I coined a phrase when I had a nonprofit that I was helping people in California that was supported by the state of California. I was helping people who were struggling. And I coined the phrase during that time, during the Great Recession, serve for success. So one way I would like to kind of wrap this up and close out, which is near and dear to me, is, I personally have a deep faith. And so I love in Rick Warren's A Purpose-Driven Life, that first page of the book where he basically says, it's not about you. You were created by God, for God, to serve God. And by serving your fellow man, woman, and child, you're serving your creator. And so I coined the phrase serve for success, because I can tell you at almost 62 years of age, 36 years in the business, the more I focus on taking care of other people, the more blessings come my way. And so serve for success, ladies and gentlemen. Kasha exemplifies that. And we're blessed to have you on the team along with the rest of your teammates. You're a godsend, and can't thank you enough for choosing PRMG.
Thank you for today's therapy session, Chris. I really needed it.
All right, everybody. Cheers. Until next time, make sure you show up so we can talk to another great performer and learn from them through mortgage therapy. All right. Take care.